Everyone. Today we are going to create this mini calculator application. So this is a beginner friendly like application demo where you do not need any experience in the Flutter. If you are new to the Flutter, and then also it is fine. But having some experiences in the Flutter is always recommended. So let's see what we are going to make. So the features of this calculator application is that we have two modes in this application, that is light and dark mode. So the second thing about, like, the second feature of this application is that we will be maintaining the history of the calculations that a user is going to do, and all the calculations are live, which means whenever the user is typing something, you can see that the result is displayed uh, on the result window as well. So when the user is doing calculation, if the uh, expression is faulty, it will throw an error. So whenever the expression is faulty, it will throw an error and it will show invalid expression at the bottom in the result window. As soon as the expression becomes correct, we will, or the application will calculate the result instantly. So it is live. But you may ask that where is the history window? So the history is calculated when the user clicks this equal button. So this result here 204.0, this is the live result. But if user is satisfied with the result, he can click the equal and the result or the a history will be created. So that's all about this demo application. Apart from this, there are other features that, for example, the user can clear the last digit, clear whole window, or just the last digit, adding to zeros, dots, etc. So one more thing is that in these applications, as I said, this is a beginner friendly applications. So we will be using features provided by the Flutter itself, and no external packages will be installed in this application apart from one single application, single package, that is Flutter SVG. And the reason being that since we are using the light and dark theme, so I have the SVG images of all the buttons in these applications. SVG because it is easy to change the colors of the images of the SVG. If I had used the PNG or JPEG, then for the light and dark theme, I will or should have to use the two images per button. For example, in light theme, I would be using different images than what I've been using in the dark theme. So I've used SVGs to leverage that functionality. So let's start uh, implementing this calculator application. Okay, so I have created this new project named calculator. So we'll be writing all the code here. So first thing first, as I already told, this is a beginner friendly project. So you do not need to have any prior experiences in the Flutter. But if you have some experiences, then it is good. So first we'll see like what the default project which is created by the Flutter looks like. So this is the project which by default the Flutter creates for us. So it has one button. When we click on this button, the counter increases. This is not an amazing thing. What I am trying to tell you is that how this state is updating. So in Flutter, we have two types of the widgets. One is stateless widgets, which is, you can see here my app is a stateless widget, and one are stateful widgets. So the difference between the two is, let's take an example of this text. So this text, if it doesn't changes, we create a stateless widget because it doesn't changes. It's just there. But if you want that this text should change on this button click, then you would probably need a stateful widget. So the thing about stateless widget is that is doesn't change. If you wanted to change a text on that stateless widget, you destroy the old widget and create a new widget. But the thing about the stateful widget is that it has a state. So the widget won't be destroyed, but if you change something in that, that something is the state, and on that changes, that widget is re-rendered. That same widget is used to re-render the changes that have been done to it. So there are multiple ways to change the state of a stateful widget. One of them is a set state function, which comes from this state class. So when we do something, for example, this is a counter, and when this function is called by this button click, we are doing the set state. What it does is it increment the counter by 1, and this state changes, which re-renders this component, and hence we will see the like these counters are increasing and re-rendered on the screen. But if I do not call the set state, then we'll see that when I click the button, there is the screen is not updating, but behind the scene the counter is actually updating, but it is not rendered on the screen because the state is not changing. So set state is one of the functions which tells flutter that the state is changed and UI needs the re-render. So why I'm telling you here this is that we are building a calculator application. So the logics we are going to write on that application is quite complex. If you are very beginner, and more complex if you do not know the DSA, I'll try my best to explain those logics and all. So the code we are writing in this application is production ready. At the end, when we have completed this application, we will deploy it on Play Store. The quality of the code is also looked into. So we will write production ready code as I already told. So so first of all, let's clear all this clutter so we can begin writing our calculate application code. Just uh, give me a moment. We do not need this app bar. We do not need this. We do not need flutter floating action button. And we do not need this title as well. Um, let's write calculator application or just calculator will be fine. We remove this title variable. The body will be safe area. So what is safe area? So in some of the mobile phones, you might have seen that the display is curved. So when we write text on the screens, the text might not be visible properly. So we use safe area. So safe area will create a boundary under which your text and widgets will be displayed. So what is a widget? So in the Flutter, everything that is rendered, button, anything text, everything is made up of widgets. So whenever I say widgets, you think it like a component in any libraries. Okay, you see the when I have used the text hello inside the safe area, it is visible inside this boundary. Okay, so first thing first, we want our calculator app to be only in the portrait direction. No landscape will be available for this application. So above this run app inside the main function, before this application runs, I will write widgets recommending dot ensure initialized. And now set referred orientation. So we want the orientation to be only ported down or ported up, right? Okay. So if you have seen the demo which I have given for this calculator, we can see that the screen is divided into the two parts. The first one is the buttons, and the second part is that the result window and the history window. So that is one part, and the buttons is the second part. So to make such of the layouts, we will be using the column. So a column is laid out vertically. So on the main axis is vertical, and the cross axis is the horizontal part. So we want the vertical axis to take as much as space as it can. So main axis size is maximum, and cross axis size is as much as it can take. So we will stretch horizontally as well. After that, we have children's property for it. Inside the children's, we'll be having two boxes. The one is for the buttons, and the one is for the that history part and that result window. So I'll be creating that history and result window later. So let's first create the buttons part. So for creating the buttons part, what should we use? There are two ways. One is to first that for making those buttons, we will be needing 20 buttons. Uh, 20 buttons, which means one column and 5 rows, and each row will be having 4 buttons. This is the first method. But the best method is using a grid, because grid will be providing each row and that column a fixed width and height, and easily we can easily create that grid part. But it is not that hard. We can also use the columns and rows, but I think grid will be a best fit for this part. So we will be using the grid part. So grid view. So there are multiple types of the grid view. First is builder, then count, custom, extend. So since we know that our grid will be containing only 20 buttons, then we will be using this grid view. So we want that the cross axis count to be 4, and main axis spacing will be 10, and cross axis spacing will be 10, and shrink wrap. So this property tells grid that take as much space as you need. So for example, if we render only 10 buttons, then it will take as much as space as the 10 buttons would need. So we'll be setting this property to true, and then it have children's. Now for children's, we'll need to create buttons. So let me create a button. I will be using elevated button for that case. So this is on-page handle, which we are ignoring as of now. Then the child property is SVG pictures. So for the buttons, I am using pictures. The reason I already stated that we can change the color for the SVGs because we are using themes. So for the asset, you can find a link in the description where you can download those assets. So here, like I have created this asset folder in buttons. We have this button. The name of the buttons is what they do. For example, 9. This is the letter 9 SVG image. Okay. So there is one file called pubspec. No, okay. Before that, when you are creating this calculator project, you will be asked for what sort of devices you are creating this application. So when I was creating these applications, I have created like you will be given checkboxes. So in that, I have only selected Android. So here I am only seeing the Android. If you're using iPhone or you want to create it for the web, Linux, etc., you must choose those checkboxes. But I'll be telling only for the Android part. Then the other thing is the pubspec file. So in this pubspec file, this is the file where you will write your dependencies, your dev dependencies, and your assets. So in this case, we have added these assets and these buttons. And these assets are not accessible if we use these assets here, they will not be accessible. So for that, I will have to add their declaration in this file. So assets, then buttons, and then this slash. So this slash tells that everything inside assets button, and this last slash is important, which tells everything inside this directory. So now we can access these assets. The other thing is that library which we want to add here. So currently we have these two libraries, that is Cupertino icons, this SDK. So the library is flutter svg. So you can run the command, that is flutter pabad flutter svg. Okay, so this package has been installed. Now we'll be using this. So if you see this dependencies, you can see that flutter svg has been added here. So how do we use? So in this button, this child, we will be using svg picture. Uh, so how do you know that these components come from this library? So most probably you will find these things in the documentation of that library. Also, if you don't know the exact name, but you know some characters, then you type like svg and then press control space. You will get the hints related to these components. So for example, I have written svg and I got this svg pictures, which is present in flutter svg. So that's what I need. And in that, I need the asset one. So my assets will be assets slash buttons slash, let's say I will render 9. I think I'll have to restart my Flutter application. Okay, so you see that the image is rendered. So the button is rendered. So the thing is, should we clone this button multiple times? Because later we will be adding styling to this button. For example, if I add the style properties, there will be a lot of the properties. So should we clone this? We should not, basically. So we'll extract this button outside so that we can use the same button multiple times. So we'll extract this as a widget and we'll name this widget as rounded svg button. Okay. So the thing is, this asset is accepting a file path, that is svg path. So we'll create a variable here, final string svg path. And the other one is the on pressed callback. So when you hover over this on pressed, you'll see that it required a void function of optional on pressed. So we're writing void callback on pressed. When you hover this void callback, so it is a type def void callback, which is equal to void function, right? So we'll accept these parameters. So we require the svg path and the on press callback is not necessary. So required, not required actually. So this dot on pressed, we will write this here. and the SVG path goes here. So now we have 20 buttons. So we'll just duplicate these 5, 10, 15, and it's 20. Now, if you double press Control and then keep pressing this Control and press the downward arrow key, double Control, downward arrow key multiple times, and you will be having multiple cursors. So now you write SVG path, which is the required property, that is assets slash buttons slash dot svg. I will be completing this path. Then on pressed. So we will be writing this empty as of now. So let's write all the paths. So if you have seen the calculator applications, uh, so this grid view will render the childs first on the horizontal and then vertically. So for example, if you write C and then we have reminder, then we have back button, and then we have divide. So these C will be rendered here, then reminder, then back, and then divide. Then the next button will be here. So it is horizontally rendered first. So we'll have to write these path accordingly. So then comes 7, 8, 9, and multiply. Subtract 1, 2, 3. Add double 0, 0, dot, and then equals. Hot reload, and you will see all the 20 buttons rendered in the same fashion. Okay, so let's design these rounded SVG buttons as it looks in the demo calculator application. So we'll style dot style from. First we will elevate this to 2 levels. Shape is rounded rectangular border with border radius circular of 35 units. Alignment will be center, and padding is 0. H in 6.0. Okay. So now you see that the buttons look very similar to what I have shown in the demo, but there are still some changes. So first, let's set up the theme part, basic theme part, not every functionality of the theme. We will be doing that later, but since our decoration for the button required the theme part, so I'll be doing some part here, and then later we'll be doing that. So here you can see inside the material app, we have theme property. There is other property as well, that is dark theme. So which we assign the theme data. So this theme here, we should write it to use the light theme. So brightness should be uh, light, and for the dark theme, the brightness will be dark. And the other property is that when the dark theme is enabled, we want our scaffold background color. So the color which I have chosen is gray with opacity of 0.09. You can adjust as per your requirements. And we want to use material 3 in this theme as well. Okay, now which theme is set? So since we have two themes, that is light theme and the dark theme. So we'll have to tell Flutter which theme we are currently using. So we'll use, since this theme mode require an object of theme mode. So we'll set theme mode of, let's say, dark. So when we set the dark theme, our buttons will change accordingly. You see, since my SVG images are of white color, in dark theme they are looking perfectly fine. But when we do light theme, you see, since the buttons are white, they are looking off. So what we have to do is, in this button should depend on the theme. So we'll get the theme here. How do we get? We have this, using this context, we'll get this theme, image theme of context. So we'll get this theme. Now using this theme, we will assign color to this SVG pictures. So the way we assign this is using the color filter. So the color filter is color filter dot mode. We will check if theme dot brightness is brightness dot dark. Then we will give color to white. Else we will give black. Then blend mode will be source in. So is everything okay here? Okay. Okay. So you see, in this white theme, now our buttons are black. But if I switch to dark, they will remain white as per our logic. Write dark here, there will be white SVGs. So we'll be using dark as a default. Then we will be using buttons to switch this theme later. Now one more thing which I wanted to show here is, if you write debug paint enabled is equal to true, debug paint size enabled, okay, and hot reload your application, you'll see that your grid is taking as much as space as it needs, so it is not covering the whole screen. So what we want next is, we have columns and we have this grid view. Okay, so this is column which is taking the full height, but this grid is not is taking as much as it needs, which means this space is not taken by anything. What we want is, above the grid we will push this grid view to down and take whole space above this grid. So we will be using expanded for that. The expanded widget, what it does, it expands and take all the free space. So we'll take all the free space, and after that we'll have to set the child property. So what should be the child? So if you see the demo applications, we have the top result window, and above the result window there is a theme button. So the theme button lies above the result window, so which means they are stacked one above the other. So we have used the expanded, which will take all the free space. Then inside this space we will use stack. So inside the stack, the first widget, and then we have second widget. So the second widget will be above the first widget. So the first widget will be rendered first. Then above that first widget, the second widget will be rendered. Right. So first thing is, we will render our that result window part. Right. So for that, we will be using column. So this is for our result window, right? This column will display or our result window, and above that result window we will be using that theme button. So whenever when user will click on that button, he will be able to switch the theme from light to dark and dark to light. So that button will be icon button, right? And on pressed we are not going to do anything as of now, and icons will be icons, sorry, icons dot dark mode, right? But it depends on like we are on the light theme or dark themes, so we'll be switching this icon soon. So hot reload, and you will see this icon above. So you see the expanded widget has taken all the free space, and then in that free space we have this column which is commented out, then this icon button. We want this icon button to be centered, that is below this camera and top center. So we'll use the alignment widget, which is whose child will be this icon button, and alignment will be top center. So our button is centered at top. Now the other thing is we don't like we need to switch that icon depends on what theme we are currently on. So we'll use the theme again. So theme data, theme is theme dot of context. Just a second. We are removing this part as of now of context, and based on this theme we'll be changing the icon. So if theme dot brightness is equal to brightness dot light, so if it is light brightness, then we'll show the dark mode, else we'll show light mode. If we are in the light mode, then we'll show the icon to switch to the dark mode, else we'll show icon to switch to the light mode. So currently we are in the dark mode, so the icon will show for the light mode, right? Now the widget which will be rendered behind this icon, that is in this free space, will be the result window. So the result window will be two parts. The first part is the history part, which will show all the history mathematical expression, and then the below that is the that query which the user will type using those buttons in this calculator. So now, since our stack has taken up like this stack is inside this column, the column is of maximum height, but the stack is not of maximum height. The height of the stack is up to this. We'll have to expand the stack to take up whole space. The column has taken whole space, the expanded has taken that full space, available full space, that is left out from the screen after removing this space by the grid. And then this stack will take all the space that the expanded has. So we'll write stack fit to stack fit dot expanded, right? Now in this column will again take all the space available for this stack. So main axis size will be maximum, and cross axis size will be stretching, and then anything else? No. Then the children. So the children has two parts. One of the part is that history part, right? So the history part, and then this expression part. So which one should have how much of the height? So I think that the query expression, the expression that user will type using the buttons, will always have the fixed height. So what I say is give all the available height to the history window, history part, and then the remaining part to the that query expression part. So right, so we'll use the flexible. What it does is it will take all the available height. So we'll give the flex of 6, right, and then fit it for the flex fit dot type, right. Then it will have child property, and then child property will be a list view dot builder. So let's return text as of now. This is history, right. Okay, so list view builder will take item count, how many items you want to show. So let's say for demo purpose, let's say 100. So why I have used the list view builder? So there are two things, that if we had used directly the list view, and let's say we have 1 millions of the entries, then all the 1 million entries will be rendered, which is not optimized, and all the entries will be like rendered at once. But in the list view, it does optimizations, which means that the entries which are visible and some buffer entries above and below will be cached, which means only the entries which are visible are only rendered, and above that, some entries above and some entries below are also rendered, but not all 1 million. For example, if 20 entries are on the screen, then let's say 30 entries are rendered, above and below some buffer entries and the entries which are visible on the screen. So that's why we are using the list view dot builder. So uh, let's save this and see what our screen shows. Okay, the next thing is that below this list view builder, we will be having our divider, whose indent will be 40, and end indent will also be 40, thickness will be 2, and since we haven't put any dynamic, we can mark this as constant, right. Below this divider, we will be having our text field. So text field is text field, and this will be read only. We don't allow user to edit. We want that use our buttons. We don't want that when the user clicks on this field, a keyboard will open up, but we don't want that. So we want this read only. Scribble, we want to enable. Then style, font size of 40. We can make this constant. Show cursor false. Decoration, we don't want any borders around this field, so input decoration and or collapsed or text inside, which is required property, so we will give the empty string here. Maximum line is 1, but if text grows, then it will be scrollable, so that doesn't create any problem. We don't want it to expand, and text alignment inside this field will be right. The text alignment is right, and that's it. So let's see what is rendered on the screen, and below that we also have a divider again. So let's create the divider, that is constant divider. Indent is 40 as before, and indent is also 40, and thickness is 2. So let me remove this debug part so that we can see clearly what's going on. Okay, as I already removed, but I'll have to restart the application. So our application has been started. Now let's do some fine tuning. So in the stack part, flexible and this list view, then we have divider, and then we have this text field. So around this text field, we want padding. So I'll be wrapping this alt enter, and you will see options to wrap this inside the padding. The paddings which I want is symmetric and only to the horizontal part of 18, and this list view part. So inside the list view builder, uh, we want padding of edge insets dot all of 18, and then we have this item builder. So inside this text as well, we want padding. So padding uh, at the bottom, so that the entries inside this list view builders will have a gap between them. So only bottom part, I want the gap, and the child is the same text. Okay, then we'll style this text, and we give font size of 18, and the alignment of the text is right. So text alignment will be right. Okay, hot reload and see the changes. Okay, so now looking better than earlier. Hover over these and add constant. You have this divider. Let's give this an height of 45, so that we'll have gap between the buttons and this header. That's it. Okay. Now we will write the functionality for these buttons. So for this, create a folder inside this lib, that is core, and we will create a calculator file. Calculator. Okay. So since this is an application, so whoever wants to use this calculator class, we want that multiple objects won't be created. So we want the singleton behavior for these calculator classes. So no matter how many times this class is instantiated, the same object will be returned. So the first thing about this is that this is based on the singleton behavior. So uh, the calculator result window will be having a query. So that query will be sent to this calculator classes. So this class will pass that query string to create that string to the infix notation inside the stack, and that infix notation is then converted to postfix notation, and then finally the postfix notation is analyzed to generate the result or an error if that expression is invalid. So let's start creating these classes. To create the singleton behavior, we'll be creating some variable that is attached to the class and not to the object. That is one the instance itself. One more thing, when we add the underscore before any variable or function, that function or variable will be private inside that class, right? So we don't want to expose any constructors, so we'll make constructor private. So this class have one constructor that is private. All the constructors are hidden now. This instance will be created using this private constructor. We'll be able to access this constructor because the variable inside the calculator class itself. Since there is no constructor, if anybody wants to get the instance of this calculator class, we will be using factory. So factory methods looks like the constructor instantiation, but they are not. So uh, we will return here the instance which we have created already, right? Okay. So we'll be creating multiple functions inside these classes. We'll get a query and we'll create infix out of that query. So query will be string query. Okay. So what do I mean by creating query to infix? So for example, you will be given 2 plus 3, but since it is a string, we will be creating tokens out of this. So the infix notation will look like 2 plus 3.5. Okay. So let's create. So if the query is empty, then this means this is the infix notation for that, right? Now let's create, if the query is not empty, then we create infix 0. This is the temporary variable. You will know why I have created this variable. Okay. So if query at I is dot or is digit, right? This function is digit will be created later. Now just imagine that is digit is a private function underscore observe before the name. So which will return true if that character we are passing to this is a digit, else false. So if that particular character has a dot or is a digit, then we'll have to append this character to the num. I'll explain with an example what we are doing here. So let's just see the high level overview first. And if it is an operator, then we'll see first if there is num. So what's happening here is that first we'll check if it has dot or is a digit, then we'll add that particular character to the num, because we are like adding up all the numbers. For example, let's say you have 2 plus 2 5 6 plus 2 6. So for example, if it is dot or a number, then we will just add up it to the num. So the num will would look like this. But now suddenly, if you see that it is a operator, it is an operator, then we know that num must be there. So if there is an operator we are parsing, then the num must have already been assigned to the num. So we see that if that num is null, there is no number, then we are for sure that this is an invalid query. Else we will add that number to the infix, which means this number we will add to the infix. Okay, then we'll clear this number again and then add this operator to this infix. Now again we'll get 2 and 3 inside this number, but we will not like able to execute this else if part, and before that we'll come out of the loop. So here we are for sure that num must have a number. So what we'll do is infix dot add number, and we'll return this part. Okay, so now we have created the query to the infix notation. The next thing is we have to convert the infix to the postfix notation. Notice that these functions are private functions, so we are not exposing these functions to be usable by external classes or whatever. So the other is list of string. We'll use infix to postfix. So what we'll get inside this function is we'll get tokens of infix. So we'll get infix here. So what is postfix notation? So let's say we have infix notation of 2 plus 3 multiply by 10 multiply by 2 plus 3. So the postfix notation would be so the postfix notation will be, how do we do this? First let's understand. So we'll have two arrays, or we can say two stacks, postfix, and then we'll be having operator stack. So we'll be like traversing the stack from start to the end. So this is not actually a stack, we call it a list, because stack top is actually this, but we will be traversing this from here. So this is a simple list which we will be traversing from start to the end. So inside this, if you encounter a number which is 2 here, just push the number to the postfix. But if you encounter an operator, then if it is empty, just push it inside it. But if you like again here we have encountered a number, then we'll push here. Now we encountered an operator. So the thing you have to remember is that if any operator uh, inside the operator stack has lower precedence than the current operator, then you should push that operator inside the stack. But if any operator from sequence has lower precedence than current operator, then remove that operator and move that to the postfix. So now here that is I mean that all the operator inside the operator stack has precedence equal or less than should be removed from the operator stack. So now we have operator multiply. Now the plus operator has less precedence, which means it is okay, which means the operator stack should have operators in the increasing precedence, strictly increasing. So we have multiply, we can push it here, right? Then we got 10, we'll have to push that 10 here. Now we got multiply. Now you see in the stack we already have top of the stack as multiply. We cannot put that, we want strictly increasing precedence. So we'll have to remove this multiply and push it into the postfix. But this multiply, the second multiply which we got now, if we put here, you see this precedence in this operator stack is strictly increasing, so that's fine. Now we got 2, then we got plus. Now plus has less precedence, so we'll have to remove this multiply, right? And this plus has equal precedence than this, so we'll have to remove this plus as well. Now this plus we got from here is pushed into this. Now we got 3 that is pushed. Now everything is over, but the stack is operator stack is not yet empty. So we'll empty the stack at the end when everything is over and push it into here. So this is the postfix notation. So how do we create this? We will be creating two stacks. Sorry, that one is list and one is operators stack, right? List of string, and this is postfix, and this one is operator stack. Infix. So if the first one is an operator, I will write these functions later. So just the name is self-explanatory, which is saying that if this value is an operator. So if this token is an operator, then what we'll do is while the operator stack is not empty, and then the precedence of the topmost value inside the operator stack has precedence greater than or equal to the precedence of the current operator. So read again that if the operator stack is not empty, then if the precedence of the topmost operator in the operator stack, this stack has the precedence more than this, then we know that if we push this operator, then the precedence will not be strictly increasing. So we'll have to remove that operator and push into postfix. Remove last and move into the postfix. Now do this until the operator stack has strictly increasing precedences, right? Now we will push the current operator inside this operator stack. Okay, else if means if this is not an operator, then it must be a number. So it can be 2.5, 2.5555, any big number. So we'll check it using double dot, try pass, and this token. If it is not null, which means it is a number, and we can add directly this to postfix, right? Else, if it is not a number and not an operator, then it is wrong infix notation. Exception, invalid infix notation, right? Now we have evaluated all the tokens. Now we will empty operator stack into the postfix list. While that is operator stack is not empty, what we will do is postfix dot add operator stack dot remove last, and then we will return this postfix notation. Now we have created postfix notation. Now we will evaluate this postfix notation. So I'll write a function that will evaluate this postfix notation and return a result if the result is available. Evaluate postfix. So what we'll get here is postfix. We'll use try catch block here because any exception thrown means something went wrong, and for that something went wrong, we'll throw exception that invalid postfix, right? So how do you evaluate a postfix notation? Here we have created a postfix notation. So how do you do? So we will create a stack. So that stack we will call nums. Okay. So we will start to evaluate this from the start. So first we'll get a number, we will push number, we will push number. But if we get an operator, then that operator will apply to last two digit. So here we get multiply, which means apply this operator to last two digit and replace the two numbers with a single number. So here we get multiply. So multiply 10 into 3. So it will become 30. Okay. Now we get 2. Now we get multiply. Multiply last two digit and replace 30 into 2, 60. Right. Then we get plus, which means add the last two digit, that is 62. Then we get 3 and then we get plus, which means 65. That's over. So we have the result as 65, right? So how do we calculate? We create a list of nums, that is double, and for any value in postfix, if it is an operator, we take two values, that is y is nums dot remove last, and then x is this. So what is this xy? So xy is in the order this. So uh, first x comes, then y. So if you have a list, let's say this and 4. So this is x and this is y. So when you remove the last value, that will be the y, and we remove the second last value. After removing this value, this is second last removed, so this will become x, right? So this is xy, and we will get result of this. So we don't know what kind of operator is this, so we'll create a function that will apply operator. So we'll pass operator, that is this value, and then we'll pass x, and then we'll pass y. So it will apply this operator to this, to x and y, and then return the result. Now we will add this result to nums. We take the two values out, we merge those values, and we push again. Instead, in place of these two values, we replace that with this result. So nums dot add this result, right? Okay. Else, if it is a num, then we simply push this value to the nums, right? Now, we have seen above that at the end there is only one value inside this notation, right? So if nums is empty or nums dot length is greater than 1, then surely this is not a valid postfix notation. Valid postfix. We'll return the first value if everything is fine, right? And catch. Now we'll write the missing function. The first one is operator. So it will take the value of operator, right? And return if our operators dot contain this op. So we'll have predefined list of operators. So we'll create that here. That will also be static, which means it is attached to the class level, and final, and is hidden from outside. And those operator will be plus, minus, and reminder. Okay. So we have written our is operator function. Then comes is digit. So we'll be given value. So if value dot length greater than 1, value dot is empty, or value length greater than 1, or integer dot try parse value is equal to null, return false, else return true. So this is a digit function. Now we have other function, that is precedence. Precedence, it will take an operator, right? So if operator is equal to plus or minus, then they will have same precedence, that is 1. But if operator is multiply, divide, or remainder, then they will have precedence more, that is 2. You can write here, for example, 100, 10, 20, 100, 200, whatever you like. Just make sure that multiply, divide, and remainder have precedence higher than that of plus and minus. Now anything that does not pass if and else part will throw exception, that is invalid operator, right? Then we are left with the last function, that is double dot apply operator. So we'll get three things here. First, the required part is string operator. Then we'll get required part double x, and then required part double y. So we'll switch operator case. This operator is plus, default will throw exception that this is invalid operator. Okay, if it is plus, then we'll do x plus y, we'll do x minus y, we'll do multiply, divide, and remainder. Order of x and y is necessary. That's why above I have written that y is always the last one and x is the second last one, because these things like x divides y, multiply y, and remainder will affect the order of x and y. Okay, so the error shows, okay, I must have imported something wrong. So you remove this library, import. Okay, so everything is done. Double parse value. We know if this is an operator, else this will be a value and will parse. If it is not a value, it will throw an exception which will be cached and we will return invalid postfix, right? So now our calculator part is almost done. There is a lot and that is going to come in this part. So inside this, we'll create an object of this calculator part. So final calculator, calculator is calculator. Okay. So we have this calculator. Now, one thing that we have missed is adding padding to this grid view. So let's add padding to this grid view. Mm, with padding dot all 12, copy with we want top to be 0. We see now it is looking more better because the buttons are not collided with the screen end. Okay. Now, since our text field is read only, user will not be able to click on this field and like keyboard will open up and write. This is not going to happen. So we'll have to manually write our values using these buttons into this text field. So for that, we'll have to create a controller. So this controller will be called text editing controller, and we'll call this controller text editing controller. Let's give this a default value of 1 plus 2, which will be text. Okay. So this is controller. So we'll have to remove this constant part. Okay. So since now we have this controller part, these buttons will come into play now. When you write C, all we want to do is we erase this text. Okay. Similarly, for the reminder part, what we'll do is controller.text plus equal to this reminder, and do similar for others as well. In this case, we'll do back. So what we want to do here is not this, but controller.text is controller.text dot substring from 0 to controller.text.length -1. Okay. Then divide 7, 8. Okay, so for equal, we will be doing something else. So you will know later. So now let's save and see what is the state of our calculator application. So you see, I can click on these buttons, erase, reminders, go back, multiply. You see, this is an invalid expression. So we'll see what we can do with these. Okay. Now, the other thing is whenever the user types into this result area, this query, we want the result below this query if the result can be possible. But if the result is not possible, there can be an error because of which we were not able to calculate the result. Then we'll show that it is an invalid expression, right? So for that, we'll have to do something. So here, since this is in a stateful widget, we use init state. Inside the init state, on this controller, we will add a listener. So inside this listener, what we will do is calculator dot parse. So we'll have to, since you can see here, when I write the dot, you can see there is no public method. So we'll have to create a method which will parse our query string and return the result. These methods are grayed out because none of them are used as of now, right? So we'll create a method that will parse our query string and return the result. Okay, this is parsing this query to return the tokens. Now we will create a method that will return result. So parse. So we'll pass here query required string query and an apply function boolean apply false. So why what is the use of this apply variable is that we want that this parse function to be called every time when users hit these buttons, any of the buttons, and also when user hit this equal button. So when user hit these buttons, apart from this equal to, we will just calculate result if possible. If possible, we show the result, and if not possible, we'll show the invalid expression because some errors might have happened because maybe the query string is not valid. But if user clicks the equal button, we will calculate the result and those errors. But apart from this, we will also add this query to the history part. So this apply will tell that apply the result, which means add it to the history. We have finalized our calculations. So for that, we are using the apply. So by default, the value of this is false, which means do not apply. What does this parse will do? So as of now, what operators we have? That is, and the values 9 and 0, right? This is what we are supporting in our calculator application. And obviously the dot part which will be used for decimals. So try catch. Okay. So final result will be evaluate postfix. Okay. The postfix revalidate infix postfix. This will require infix, that is query to infix, and then we'll pass here query, right? So first this function will be called which will give infix. This function will convert to postfix, and then this postfix will be evaluated and will get result. But if any of these functions throws, maybe infix is not right, maybe postfix is not right, or evaluation failed, then we'll get into the catch. Now you remember the demo video which I have given. So one thing is we can write calculator here will return the result simply. Okay, this is double. So we'll get a double here, calculator dot parse, and this is controller dot text. So we'll get result, and we can use set state, and let's say we can write result double result, and we write result is equal to ris. So the UI will perfectly be re-rendered, but there is a lot of things. For example, we'll be having history and this result obviously. So this will be overly complicated. So we'll be having other solutions for that. So we will be using the streams in this case. So what are streams? So what I have did for this application is that we will only do the parsing, no results, nothing. We will only do the parsing. Okay, what this parse will do is this calculator will create a pipeline to the UI interface. So whenever this parse application is called, we either get the result or an error. So we'll throw error or that result to the pipeline. That pipeline will be attached to our this UI widgets, and based on what comes through the pipeline, this UI will be rendered. So the pipeline, the other meaning of that pipeline in the flutter is called streams. So there is a stream builder in the Flutter which will watch for any changes or any values that are that come through that pipeline or the streams and build UI based on that. So what type of data we want to push into this pipeline is that is history, and this is that the other one is the result. So inside this calculator, we want to create pipelines, right? So that pipeline is static, final, and that is stream controller. Let's just comment this. Maybe because of this incomplete functions, I'm not getting any hints. Final stream controller. Okay, so this is the stream controller, which have a type, and then this will also be private and class level. Okay, so stream controller. Now, what type of data will this stream contain? So it will contain an object. So that is class of calculator result. What this result will have is final list of history and double result. So if the result is null, which means invalid, right? Now we'll create constructor that will accept these values. So we have required history and required result. Okay. So the pipeline will have calculator result part, right? Okay. Now, since this is private, you may ask that how will the UI attach or re-renders based on the stream. So you see, when I write stream controller, there are lots of method in this stream controller. We don't want to expose the controller, but what we want is we want to expose only the stream. So we'll create a getter stream, and it will return stream controller dot stream. So you see the stream doesn't have anything which can manipulate our controller. It's just the stream which the UI will listen to, right? Now this parse method. What we will do is we got the result, right? This result will be pushed to this stream. So this stream controller dot sync dot add. So we'll add. So this stream will always take a calculator result. So it will have a history and result. So result is this and history. So history will have to create again this final variable and class level because static, and this will be empty initially, and it will have list of strings, right? And history is history. But if we got an error, we will return history same that we have earlier, but the result will be null, right? And we will not return anything. Okay, so inside the main dart, we don't have this result. We will just parse. That's okay. Now on every click, since we have added the listener on the controller, on every keystroke, when we click on any of the button, this parse will be executed, and if there is a result, this will be added to the stream. If there is an error, this will be added to the stream, right? Now one thing we'll have to see is if apply is there, right? If apply is there, then this result, final result, if apply is there, then in the history we'll have to add this result, um, query, and then result, right? That's done. So parse, it will add to the stream either the result or the error. Now we will have to listen to that stream in the UI. So as I've told, we have stream builders, and stream builders will change or re-renders the UI. So seeing these applications, what needs to be re-rendered when we get something out of that stream? So about this part only, right? This query and this history part will get re-rendered, and this doesn't have any effect. So we'll have to apply the stream builder to this part. So that is this column part. So we'll cut this part. Sorry, not this one. Uh, this part, this column part inside the stack, uh, and we will apply this what we say stream builder to this column. So we'll write stream builder and stream. So what is stream? Calculator dot, this is the stream that the stream builder will listen to, and we'll have this builder. Inside this builder we will return this. Now we have this snapshot and this context. This snapshot is the snapshot of our calculator result, right? So here inside the builder, we have given item count. So item count will be snapshot dot dot data. So what type of data is there? Data. So data, it is showing object. It is because we have not specified here that it's calculator result. Now if we see the data, just a second, let me see why it is saying. Okay, I'll have to specify here that stream builder is of type calculator result. We'll get the data of calculator result, and we'll see history dot length. Since data can be null, we'll write if there is no length, just use 0, right? There is no history, then 0. And here we'll have index, so we'll use this index. If item builder is called, which means there is length. If it is 0, no item builder will be called. If there is more than 0, this will be called with an index, we'll have index. And we are sure that if item builder is called, there will be data, right? Okay. One more thing is that now we also want to show the result as well. We are not showing any result here. So we'll be changing this UI a little bit. So below this padding and above the divider, we'll create a padding dot symmetric with the horizontal of 18.0. We'll have child snapshot dot data dot result is not equal to null, which means we have the result. Then Then we'll show this text with snapshot dot data. Data is for surely there because we have checked the expression that result is not null. Data dot result dot to string, and we will align this to right side. The result will be aligned to the right side. So text align dot right side. Okay. Else, if there is no result, two case arises. If there is query string and there is no result, then surely there is an error. But if there is no query string and there is no result, which means that user haven't like given any query string, which means no error and no result. So we'll write text if controller dot text dot is not empty, which means there is an error and that error is invalid expression. Else there is no error and we'll align this text to right. Okay. Now let's see what our calculator state is. Okay. So it is saying invalid expression. The initial text which we have used, I'll be removing that because initially no calculator have default text. So now if I write 2, result is shown. But if I write plus, it will be invalid expression. 6, result is calculated. Multiply 5, multiply 2 plus 3. So the result is correct, right? Now we'll be handing this equal part. So what should happen in the equal part? You see the history is not created as of now. So what we'll do is this will do calculator dot parse controller dot text, and we'll apply this text and remove the controller text. Okay. So if we do equals, then the history will be created. So if I write 2 plus 3 equals, the history is getting created. But there is an issue here, that is if I keep doing this, you see that expression is down. So we are not seeing the latest entries, and for that what we'll have to do is whenever this equal is pressed, we'll have to scroll this history container to the end. So for that we'll have to assign a scroll controller to the history list view. So we'll create a controller that is scroll controller. So this is history scroll controller. We'll assign this controller to list view controller, and now we'll do scroll controller dot animate to history controller dot position dot maximum. This says that the scroll container has maximum scroll extent. You scroll to that maximum scroll extent, which means scroll as much as you can, which means go to the end of this scroll extent whenever equal is pressed. In what duration? So we'll write duration dot millisecond 300, and curve is curves dot is is in out or is in out. Yes. Let's see if it is working or not. So if I write 2 plus 6, you see 2 plus 6 is scrolled onto the view. But if you scroll, you'll see that it is not totally visible. So if I do this, for example, 9 multiply 3, the 9 multiply 3 is not totally visible. The reason being is when you press the equal button, the parse method, what it does is it puts the result into the stream, right? And the stream is listened by this UI, but the function is not yet completed. Then what it does is it will clear the text and it will scroll the controller. So it will be scrolled. After scrolling, the UI is re-rendered and the latest entry which the stream has pushed is pushed here, which means the scrolling happened before the entry is rendered. We don't want that. We want that after the entry is rendered, we should scroll. So we will add this call inside widget bindings dot instance dot add post framework callback, and inside this we don't need timestamp. We just call this function inside this. So what it does is it will call this function after this after the render frame. So when the last entry is rendered, it will call this controller, which means first the result will be put into the stream, cleared out. This will be skipped. Then the re-rendering will happen because the history is changed and the result is changed. And after that, the scroll controller will be called. And now you see when I write 6 into 3 and press equal, this 6 into 3 is totally visible. You see, when I 2 into 3, 2 into 3 is totally visible and is automatically scrolling. Okay, let's write some big expression. Okay, it's saying invalid because we have written plus minus here. So we'll go back. 6 plus double 0 plus 3 uh, plus 6 plus 9. Okay, and we'll do equal. So this expression is added here, right? Let's do some more fine tuning. So this text here, I will align it to right. Font size is 18. That's fine. Okay. Now let's do this theming part. This button is not working as of now. So what we want to do is we have this theme light and dark. What we want is we want to change this part from light to dark, dark to light. Okay. By clicking this button. How do we do this? So again, streams. We will be creating another theme stream. So that stream will be singleton, like singleton class object. Anyone can instantiate will get the same object, and using that object, they will call method light theme, dark theme. And what it does is it will add this theme mode into that stream, and we will listen for that stream here, and then we'll change this value, right? So just like we have created calculator, we'll create a new class called theme provider. Okay, so let's start writing this theme provider class. So we'll have class theme provider. Okay, let's rename this class theme provider. Static will have static, final, and object of the same class theme provider. Instance is theme provider or theme provider dot private constructor. I'll be using that same constructor here. Then factory method theme provider, and will return the instance. Right? We'll be having a variable, not of class, of object. Theme mode. Theme mode dot. Let's say default theme is light, right? And we'll be creating a stream controller. Stream controller, which will be static, final. Stream controller, that is theme stream controller. So stream controller, right? And controller of what type? It will contain pipeline for theme mode. Theme mode. We will expose the stream, that is stream, and return theme stream controller dot stream. I'll create method light mode. What it will do is stream controller dot sync dot add current theme equal to theme mode dot light. So this current theme will be changed and this will be passed into the stream. Okay. This cannot be static. Okay, one second. This can be static, right? Stream sync dot add, and then we have dark mode, which will do similar thing. Just the current theme will be dark, and when we get theme, we'll return current theme, and we'll write dispose function. So dispose, what it does is stream controller dot dispose or close. For similar function, we'll have to write for the calculator because we don't want any leaks. So dispose controller, and this controller will be disposed inside the dispose of. When this main activity is disposed, we want the calculator to dispose. Right. Similarly, we'll be having theme provider. So inside the main, we'll have to like change this to use the stateful widget because our theme is dynamic. We'll be changing the theme and storing the current theme value. So we'll have to convert this to the stateful. So press Alt and press Enter. First click on the stateless widget, Alt Enter. Now convert to stateful widget, right? Now inside the state, create theme mode and current theme. Then the theme provider. So we have theme provider, refactor, rename theme provider. Inside the main, we write theme provider dot current theme or theme. Right. This current theme is assigned here. Now inside the init state, what we'll do is we'll create a listener for the theme provider stream. Theme provider dot stream dot listen. I will get a theme whenever the theme changes, and we'll do set state. Set state for what? Current theme is equal to theme. So now if I go inside this align button, that is theme, you just have to restart or hot reload for this to work. So here inside the alignment, you have icon button. So first you need to know what is your current theme. So if theme provider, not theme provider, you can see theme dot brightness is equal to brightness dot light, which means it is light. So you have to change theme provider dot dark mode, right? Else theme provider dot light mode. So that's working fine now. Now let's see if it is working or not. When you click this button, you see that our themes is changing perfectly fine. I want to remove this debug level as well. So let's see how to remove this. So inside maybe scaffold debug. No, inside the material app, maybe there may be any property. So debug. So check mode banner is false. So that banner is removed. So the next part is we'll be changing the icon for our calculator application. So first of all, congratulations if you have come up to this state. The main part of this application was this calculator and theme provider. These two files are important because in these files we have seen how to like design and structure our applications. See, we have created this calculator, we have created streaming inside this, and we have created the private function. Only the parse function is exposed outside. So these two things, only the stream and parse, is the only getter and the function which are exposed outside this class. Everything else is private inside this. We have thrown exceptions wherever possible. And this is a good style because if you are getting exceptions, this means that you are doing something wrong. But let's say if you don't throw an exception and somehow on the production on the Play Store, a user is using this application and they observe this exception. So that is the wrong thing, right? Handling of the errors and exceptions is must before sending them to the production. The second thing you did is this changing of the theme of the applications. So the pattern here is similar to the calculator class, that is we are using the streams. And because of these streams, we were able to handle the complex things because changing this theme from the this state from this to the main state, because the material app is here but our button is so deeper inside. this main page. So you see how these streams has solved our complex problems. The other main thing about this calculator application is these functions. How you convert this query to infix, then convert this infix to postfix. How do you evaluate postfix? So this is basically a D executions, which you can find on LeetCode or Geeks for Geeks or Coding Ninjas. This UI part is not a major thing. That the core and the heart of this application is this calculator file. So if you wanted to showcase this application on the resume, make sure you understand everything about this calculator class, because that's what firing this application up. So now let's change the icon for our application. So for that, choose any of the icon or download any of the icon you want, and then go to this Chrome browser and just uh, search for maybe Android icon generator, right? Then app icon generator, then select your file in downloads or wherever. You'll see this file, and then just select Android, because I have created this application for Android. I will be using only Android. Then generate, go to downloads. Okay, unzip it. Okay, I have these app icons, right? Go to Android and copy all these folders. Go to Android Studio and then paste this inside Android app source main resource and here, right? And then overwrite for all. Then we'll close this application and restart. So as to take these, so that these icons are pushed into the bundle and they are reflected on this application. Okay. Apart from this, go to the pubspec.yaml file. So inside this, the important thing to remember is uh, this version. When you release this application on the Play Store, this will be released with the version 1, build number 1, right? Okay. So if you see this application, I think it is not yet launched. Okay, now it is launched. So you see the icon for this Android application. You see, this is the calculator part, our applications, right? So now we are going to deploy this to the Play Store. So, so to deploy this on the Play Store, you must be having a Play Console account. Just click on this, build, Flutter, and build app bundle. So it will take some time. The app bundle is created. Just right click on this folder path, open it inside the Explorer. But before that, copy this path, open in the Explorer, calculator, and then paste this path. So you have this release file here. Copy this path, go to Chrome, and log into your Play Console account. You will have to generate an upload keystore file, which you'll have to keep with yourself. Do not lose that file, because if you lose that file, you will not be able to publish any updates on that applications. There are, however, ways to replace that upload key store file, but it will take a lot of days because you'll have to send request to the Google to replace your upload key store files. So I'll recommend that if you are generating these upload key store files and publishing your app onto the Play Store using that key store, keep that key store file safe with you. So now I am going to tell you how to generate that key store file. Simply use Flutter signing APK. Inside releasing your APK, sign the app. So you'll have to generate this key tool command. Go to Android terminal, key tool generate key store. So upload key store file. So store type, elect size, alias upload, right? Press enter. So key store password will be same. You can give any password. Make sure you remember the password. Destination key store. Go to this path, right? And I'll have upload key store files. Copy these files and save these files, identity files. Inside the project Android, you create key.properties file. So go to Android, new file, key.properties, and copy these files. So password, write your password here, your key store password. Upload alias is upload, and store file name location, calculator, jks file. Windows configure signing in Gradle. Go to Android app, close the tabs, Android app, build.gradle, properties, key.properties, the key store.non file store, right? Default config, signing config, build types. Android signing config, and create build types. Debug release. All right, let me show you again. So first of all, generate upload key store using this key tool, where your key store name is this. Okay, and aliases is upload. Remember this. Remember your password. After this, I was given a warning that this is what you need to migrate to new thing. So I run the recommended command. This one. Okay, make sure if you have space between your path, just enclose your path in commas. So your key store is reverted to the new recommended way. Go to this path where your key store is generated. Save it to a safe location where you can access it always. Do not expose this JKS. Do not git commit this to your GitHub. Okay, now upload this, like copy that key store file into Android app level. Also make sure inside your git ignore, if you have initiated git, add this file to the git ignore, so you mistakenly do not push this to the git. After that, create this key.properties file, like your local.properties, the same way you have key.properties file. Write store password, write key password, key alias. We have seen that upload your store password and key password, and the location. The location will be the absolute location of this. So copy path and absolute path, right? Then after this, go to build out Gradle. You see you have uh, local properties. Copy same to same here, but write here key store properties. Key store properties and same. It will read local properties. You read key properties, and then scroll inside the Android. You create signing config with the release. Inside this release, we have these four properties. Then this key store properties variable here we have created. Read these values from there and assign to these values, right? In default config, which is already there in build types, you write release, and in release, you have signing config of debug, signing config of release. So it will be like this: debug, right? Now you build your app, flutter, build app bundle. Okay, so your bundle is created. Now go to this location, open in Explorer, calculator, copy, and in release, you upload this bundle, right?